Hi, welcome to another video. It's been a minute. I was on hiatus because of medical reasons and now I'm back. So, we are going to talk about the books that I may be reading in May. As usual, I've decided on a very overtly ambitious TBR for myself, and it does not matter that I have not been able to follow a TBR for the past 2 months. It does not matter that I have been in a reading slump for the past 2 months, but I am delusional. And I would like to think that just because May is my birthday month, I will be able to read these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 2 books that are not on this pile. So I do like to think that I'll be able to read 10 books in May after having read one. One whole book in April. I'm actually not supposed to hold up any weight right now. So that was an adventure. But let's quickly start talking about all of these books that I'm planning to read. I've been reading this for over a month. This is Invisible Kitties by Yu Yo-Yo. This is a translated work of fiction originally written in Chinese. It's about a couple who adopt a kitten accidentally, and then their like daily life and what changes and the shenanigans that go on. And it's really cute and really sweet. It's no secret that someday I want to have a cat of my own, and that someday is a little bit far away right now. So this is all I've got. And this is a really cozy, soft, whimsical, magical book. And I don't mean magical in the way that magical. I mean magical in the way of literal magical realism because it's very whimsical. The cat is sometimes a flat, the cat is sometimes water, the cat is sometimes a gas. It's fun. Trust me, like it might sound a little absurd right now, but if you like or own a cat, you will understand what this is talking about. So I'm halfway through this book because I'm still in that reading slump. Also, I've got this cute little bookmark. I think it's for a children's book, and I got it at the book fair along with the books, like a free bookmark that you get. And I just think that it kind of vibes. Okay, so the next book that I want to read in May is The Odyssey. And this is the Penguin Classics edition. This has been translated by E.V. Ryu. And then there's a revised translation by D.C.H. Ryu with an introduction by Peter Jones. So I've never read The Odyssey. I have read The Sea of Monsters in the Percy Jackson books by Rick Riordan, which I realized when I reread it earlier this year that it is a sort of version of The Odyssey. And I've also listened to Epic the Musical, which is now being turned into an animated movie. So yay for that. But also we've got an Odyssey movie coming out, and I might want to go and watch it in theaters and point out all the inaccuracies, which I would never do with Epic the Musical, by the way. But just to be insufferable, I'm gonna read three retellings or three versions or three translations of the Odyssey, and this is the one that I'm starting off with. Next up is Emily Weil's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I just realized is going quite well with my dress. That's really cute. I wanted to read this book during the spring, and I actually started it in spring. I started it over a month and a half ago. I started it in the middle of March. But when I started reading it, I realized that this book is set in the dead of winter with like snow and hail and icy storms and everything else. So that was a bummer. I could have just started this in January had I known. But that's on me. That's on me. However, I still do want to read this book. Once I got a little bit further into this book, I started getting into it. Then I tried to draw the first fairy she ever saw, and people at my book club saw me draw it, and I have terrible art skills. But then I also did make a book journal page, and so now I wanna like put my thoughts down about this book onto that journal. So I'm waiting for when I'm able to sit for long enough that I'm able to read as well as annotate slash journal about it. And here we are. Next, we've got a couple of books that I'm reading for my Shadowhunters readathon, I guess. I am rereading most of the Shadowhunters books and reading a few books for the first time, because I want to read the 19th, 20th, and 21st books in that publication order, but I've forgotten what happened. Also, there are some books that I've never read, like The Red Scrolls of Magic. This book was also on my 26 books for 2026 list, so this is a read, not a reread. However, the other two books that I want to read this month that are in the Shadowhunters universe are rereads. The first one being A Clockwork Angel, and then the second one will be Clockwork Prince, which is way inside, and I did not think ahead to pull it out of the shelf. And I'm not supposed to lift heavy stuff, so I can't pull out all those books. Uh, anyway, it'll be surprising to me if I'm even able to finish both of these books first before I get to that one. And if I get to that one, then I'll have someone help me out. It's just as simple as that. Next, we've got two really, really cool books that were both gifted to me on separate birthdays. First, we've got Wild and Wicked Things, which was gifted to me by one of my childhood friends, my school friend. And I think she gave it to me a couple of years ago at this point. She gifted me two books, and in my defense, I read the first one, and then I kind of forgot about this one. So I'm gonna read this. This is also on my TBR for that shelf reading your shelf challenge. I've forgotten the name of the challenge. Wow. So anyway, and then the other book is The Lost Bookshop, which was recommended to me from like a list of my owned books by another friend. And also I received it for my birthday last year. So I thought, since May is my birthday month, why should I not read them? Another book that I want to read is The Devil in the Dark Water. When I tried to make a March TBR for myself using my TBR bowl, which is not clearly visible because of the reflection on the glass, but when I tried to make a TBR out of my TBR bowl, this was one of the books that came out, and I really, really do want to read it. I don't know. Well, I do know. It's because it's a huge chonky book that I don't really approach it. But I've made a pact with myself. I'm going to be reading in a way that feels good rather than trying to read and read and read in order to complete reading goals or boost up the number of books that I'm reading. So my copy of The Devil in the Dark Water is here, and to get to it, I would have to move this couch, which I cannot do. So let's just talk about the last book that I hope to read in May, which is Babel or Babel, but I'm gonna call it Babel because I don't know. And this again was recommended by a friend out of the books that I own, and that friend also wants to read Babel. So now the two of us are gonna read it, and we're also asking around in our book club. Which book club? I started going to a book club. I need to talk about that. Um, so I started reading. No, I want to read Babel with some of the people in my book club. It's gonna be a buddy read, and I think sometime in the next week we're gonna figure out when to start and what pace to read at and how we're gonna have our discussions and everything. But yeah, this is the final book that I hope to read in May, and hopefully I may be able to finish these. And that's enough of the puns. You may be getting too tired. And yeah, you may see me in the next video. Bye bye. Next up is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairy, which was also on my 2026